What is going on, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? My name is Connor, aka President CM, and I'm back with another 10 Points of Redemption video. Now, I know what you're thinking, and I'm thinking the exact same thing. Another Rob Zombie 10 Points of Redemption video? What are you doing? Now, my channel is not going to be a Rob Zombie movie channel, I promise. This is actually a special friend of mine. He did not want his name disclosed, but he told me that he really wanted me to run through this video after he watched the first video. He really thought that I could do well with this movie. He really loves this movie. I personally really enjoyed it myself, so I have no problem running through it. The only problem I had was that I had just done a Rob Zombie movie in the first video I made, so I'm going to be releasing another video probably at the exact same time as this one. That's another 10 Points of Redemption video. You'll see what that one's about, so that's why I'll have the same clothes on and everything. I'm going to film it right after I film this one. So I'm going to run through this kind of quickly. I'm going to take some time with some of the points that I have today, but overall I'm going to try to keep this video kind of short, and I just want to let you guys know my channel is not going to be centered around Rob Zombie movies. In fact, I think it will be centered more around Halloween movies. That's what I love the most in horror. It's my favorite franchise in film, so that's probably what you're going to hear a lot from me going forward on this channel, is about Halloween movies. That being said, let's get into the 10 Points of Redemption for Rob Zombie's 31, which you see up there behind me. Now, this movie was released in 2016, was actually crowdfunded by Rob. He got people to contribute, and I really liked that. I really liked the fact that, his fans chipped in for this movie, and he compared it directly to The Devil's Rejects. I don't think it's comparable to that. The Devil's Rejects is my favorite film by him, and one of my favorite films of all time. But I will get into why this movie is actually a good movie in today's video. This is, like I said, for a friend, so I hope you like the video. Go ahead and comment down below what you think, and if you think I missed any points. The first point that I'm going to make in today's video is the cinematography and visuals in this film are pretty amazing. Now, some of the shaky cam shots that they have during the kills are a little off and disorienting, and there is a scene where, involving strobe lights. Spoiler warning, by the way, for the rest of the video. There is a scene that involves strobe lights that's a little disorienting and a little, kind of out there. It's hard to see what's going on, but the rest of the movie is shot brilliantly. The intro of Schizo Head and Psycho Head just pops into my head as one of those scenes that just looks amazing. There's scenes where they're walking around in the environment, and you see, the fan spinning with the lights coming through. You see this just beautifully lit area. It's just amazing what they can do in this movie. And I like even, the shots where you see something that's dirty and supposed to have bright colors, and the contrast you see between bright colors and dark colors. It's really just an interesting movie. It's visually, it's really cool to watch, and just the murder world in general, where these characters are being kept in, is just such an interesting place, and it looks so cool. And that's actually my second point of redemption for this movie, is how awesome that the murder world actually is. Now, you see in the opening shot, it's like this theater type setting where they're being kept in, and next thing you know, they're out in this world that's kind of like a maze. It's like just something that they have to navigate through. It's a very disorienting layout of the place, which I think is just perfect for what the characters are going through. It's just very, the setup is just so strange, and there's so many different things to see that I think it just works perfectly for what they're trying to do in this movie. I think, disorienting the characters like that, and making the audience feel like, where are we in relation to the rest of the characters. I think that's really cool to have that maze-like setup, and definitely a plus for this movie when you're watching, if you really pay attention to the areas around them. Like I said in the first point, the cool shots that they create in this area, I think it's amazing and really helps save this movie from some of its downfalls. Which another thing that I think saves this movie is the score and the soundtrack. I think the score was done very well. He didn't go with his normal MO for this. It was a little bit different, but he did go along the lines on the soundtrack where he kind of kept it 70s rock centered, or close, which I really liked. I actually really dig 70s rock. I really like that about The Devil's Rejects. One of my favorite 70s rock songs is actually Walk Away by the James Gang, and that is featured in this movie. I really think it's a pretty interesting the score that they have, it has some creepy things in there, especially. I really liked one scene with Sickhead, where he's in the hallway and the lights are going behind him, and the character of Levon stumbles across him. I really liked the score at that point, and some of the score throughout the movie is just really cool. Some of it's actually kind of Carpenter-like, which I really liked about it. Definitely took inspiration and paid homage to some of the older scores, especially from 80s and 70s movies. I really liked that. And like I said, I really like how it kind of had went along the same lines of The Devil's Rejects as far as being influenced by certain 70s rock songs. Another thing that was pretty influenced by Devil's Rejects in this movie is my next point, actually, and it's something I like to call the Devil's Reject effect, where the point of introducing these characters is not so that you like them right away, it's so that you can sympathize with somebody that you actually find maybe quite annoying, or you see the downfalls in the character right away, but by the end you really want to root for them. I really like that they did that in this movie, and I like that not everybody is immediately unlikable. In my opinion, I think Jeff Daniel Phillips as Roscoe in this movie, he did very well. I think overall, Kevin Jackson as Levon, who I mentioned in the last point, I think he did very well. Also, ultimately, I think the characters overall are pretty unlikable, and the dialogue that they have is not all that great. But these two characters in particular, I think you like right away, and by the end, you're really rooting for them. Which leads me to my next point, which is actually, as a whole, Jeff Daniel Phillips as Roscoe. I think when you're first introduced to him, he's kind of this lovable idiot, but he's also kind of relatable. He's stuck in a situation where he feels like he's, underutilized. He feels he's underappreciated by the rest of the people in the group. Definitely can, relate with a character like that. Anybody pretty much can. And by the end of the movie, you are rooting for Roscoe. You want this guy to live. He has, at this point, kind of sacrificed himself for the betterment of the group, and ends up doing so inevitably, sacrificing himself so that Charlie can live, which I know a lot of people were kind of off about, because that was one of the characters they didn't like throughout the movie was Charlie. I didn't mind her, but I thought that Roscoe definitely should have been the one to, survive, but you gotta have the final girl. That's totally fine. I was really rooting for Roscoe. I really like that character, and to me, that's my number 5 point on why this movie is actually, not as bad as people think it is. I think he did very well acting-wise for what he was given. His performance was not as stilted as some of the other people were with the dialogue that they were given. And ultimately, I think he did pretty well with the character. And another group of people I think did very well in this movie, which is my number 6 point, is Malcolm McDowell, Jane Carr, and Judy Geeson as the kind of royal people behind the scenes of this thing. They're just these powdered, eccentric, just crazily dressed people who bet on what's going to happen throughout this thing. Definitely the orchestrators of the game. But I really think that for the limited time they were given on screen, they delivered their lines well. I think they all did very well performance-wise. And I really like the idea at the end of the movie that you see these characters undressed and they just are normal members of society. They're amongst us, per se. They're walking amongst the people who, your normal, average, everyday person. I really, really like that. I like the idea that, the monsters are among us sort of thing. I think that was perfect for I don't think they should have done it with the character of Doomhead, which they did kind of at one point. They showed his kind of outside life after introducing him in the beginning of the movie. But ultimately, I think that, making these characters who orchestrate this game, who we're led to assume have created this game, they're just, your average everyday person. They're walking amongst us. I really like that idea. To me, it's really creepy, and it really kind of nails it home for you that, this almost could happen, which was actually the inspiration of this movie. Was Rob Zombie had read a fact that on Halloween, that's the day that people go missing out of any time of the year. And I think that inspiration fits perfectly with these characters just being normal, everyday people that you just would see on the street. Now, the characters that are being killed in this movie, which is my number 7 point, they aren't all that stupid. You know, you see in movies a lot of times these characters don't have, it's like they don't have a brain. You know, they put themselves in situations where you know that they're going to die. With this one, it's a little bit more unique considering the fact that they're actually in this environment to begin with. They're just kind of thrown in here. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know where they're going. But to me, for what they were given and what everything, you know, they always had a weapon on them. Roscoe mentioned in the movie that they all need to stay together, and they'll be fine. They don't trust when they find Georgina, the pastor's wife from the beginning. They find her still alive. They don't trust her. Most of them don't. They try to kind of all stay on the same page. They try to keep themselves safe. You know, and it's very stressed throughout the movie that they should stay together, and I think that's really good to do when you've already taken some characters and given them some dialogue, which makes us think maybe they're not as great as, you know, you're portraying them to be. They're all flawed characters, but like I said, you know, they do have that, they keep their eyes peeled on the environment, they have that sense of urgency, and they have that sense of staying together, which I really like that they do, and they don't go the route of, oh, well, let's split up to find a way out. Like, you know, a normal horror movie would do. I really like the fact that they drilled it home that these characters want to be safe. Which actually kind of leads me to my next point, but not really. Is you know, these characters, they don't want to be in this environment. They just want to get out, but they know if they stay together and they survive, they follow the rules of this game, they'll be able to get out, and they're relatively smart to that. What they do with the killers, however, is I think even smarter, because they make us question what their involvement is, which is obviously my number 8 point. All of them besides like one or two, I definitely will say Doomhead is not involved in this point, but maybe Sickhead as well, the way he kind of acted towards the end for his character. But I think the characters of Schizohead and Psychohead, you know, Schizohead at that one point, David Urey did a very good job of this. He was, you know, crying and screaming, and I think the line was, you know, I don't want to be here. They make me be here. You know, we're the same. We're all pawns in their stupid game. I really like that. I really like the fact that they're not only making these characters who they just tried to kill a couple seconds ago, they're making them question, you know, if they should actually go through with killing this guy, but they're also making the audience question, well, where does the game start? You know, does it start with the killers? Does it start with, you know, the people above? Do they force both parties to be there? Which, you know, obviously I said, you know, Doomhead is not in that conversation, and Sickhead to an extent is not in that conversation. But even him, you know, at the end, right before he loses his life, he starts, you know, crying, and then you have the relationship between Sex and Deathhead. You know, they seem to be very close, and they beg for each other's lives, and they, you know, they cry out in agony when the other one is being hurt or killed. I think it really makes the, you know, the audience sort of question, like, where does this game begin? You know, does it begin with the contestants that they bring in, you know, to bet on, and they're just pawns of the game? Or is everybody a pawn in the game, and, you know, the people at the top just kind of force everybody to be there, besides, you know, a regular that they forced in there once and maybe did a great job, and now they just, you know, they ended up liking it, somebody who's crazy like Doomhead. You know, it really makes you think about what the involvement of these characters actually is, and I really like that. And the ending, I think, makes you think as well, which is why my number 9 point is going to be the ending of the movie, the Dream On ending. A lot of people were pretty mad about this, and I did see some reviews where they actually said that they started laughing at the end of this movie. I thought that it was a little bit laughable, and while it was drawn out and kind of slow, I thought it was cool because of what it was. Now, you had this amazing song playing. To me, that is my favorite Aerosmith song, is Dream On. I love that song. I listen to it, you know, every time I'm in the car pretty much. But it also has some representation to the story. You know, you're at this point where this character of Charlie has been through this whole game, and she survived. She watched, you know, some of her friends die. She watched, you know, she saw her friends pretty much all die. She knows Roscoe is gone because she just, you know, met, you know, with Doomhead again. And ultimately, it kind of represents both of their state of mind when they're standing off with each other at the end there, because you see how Charlie, she kind of, tenses her fists up, and she's really hoping to make it out of this. She's going to fight with every ounce of, energy she has to get out of this situation. And you got Doomhead, who has never failed before, and a guy who is, he's the sure bet on winning this game, and she got away and she survived. And so they both have this kind of urgency. They have this sense of urgency in their mind to survive and kill the other. And to me, that Dream On ending is really, really represents that when that song is playing. And to me, I think it's really cool, the fade at the end, because I think it possibly shows, Charlie kind of reflecting on her life and reflecting on the good time she had with all these people she just lost before she herself is met with that fate, because we know that fate is coming. She has no weapons. You have Doomhead with both the switchblades. You know what fate is coming. And ultimately, I think that ending is the song is a great representation of what's happening on screen, and I really like when that happens. And of course the creepy smile from Doomhead, where he's just drooling and he's just ready to, he's ready for this. He wants this so bad. He came back to kill her, and I really like that, which actually leads me to my final point. Point number 10 of why this movie is actually pretty good is the character of Doomhead. Richard Brake does a phenomenal job as Doomhead. The opening monologue is just amazing. I think it's the best scene of the movie. It really shows the range as an actor that Richard Brake has, after some people were only introduced to him when they watched Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, or even if they watched the movie Doom, starring Carl Urban and Dwayne Johnson. He'll always be The Rock to me. It's hard for me to say Dwayne Johnson, but Richard Brake does a great job in this movie, really showing you that this character is an intelligent killer. He's smart, he's calculated, he likes to take his time, and that ultimately ends up being his downfall at the end, which he takes his time and he isn't able to successfully complete the job as he usually would. But other than that, he shows, he's even, I like the fact that he has historical things in there, that he mentions things throughout history, and has quotes, and I think that, it really shows this character is like a much deeper than we've seen, and I think that shows his psychopathic side as well, is that this guy just wants to come in, he wants to kill, he wants to just live this just crazy lifestyle that he's living. This is what he does, and honestly, it saves the film overall, this character coming in, and they do some things with the character that I don't like. Like I mentioned earlier, they go into his, private life, which I think was a big mistake. But other than that, I think it was really, really awesome how they made this character. They wrote him competently for the most part. They really made him a badass just killer who comes in and destroys. And by the end of the movie, his image is a little bit more tainted than it would have been if they would have left some of that stuff out, especially after the first scene, which was so amazing. But in my opinion, his performance overall and his dedication to the character throughout the movie honestly saved the movie from the depths of questionably written characters and a plot that was generally pretty thin. But overall, I think the movie was really misunderstood. I think people hate the movie because they expected it to be good, because they watched the movie expecting it to be, whether they listen to Rob Zombie say, hey, it's like The Devil's Rejects, whether they listen to, whether they're just one of those people who go into a movie expecting a good movie every time or a scary movie every time. And to me, I've watched enough Rob Zombie material that I know I should not go in expecting an Oscar-worthy movie, and I don't think anybody should. I think you should go in wanting to be entertained, and I think I was thoroughly entertained throughout 31. I've seen it quite a few times, and I think, honestly, it's not as bad as people say it is, and that's exactly why I agreed to do this list. I hope that my list has convinced you, or at least that the movie's a little bit better, or at least convinced you to go back and see it again. Honestly, that's my goal with these. I want you to want to go back and watch it again. I want you to be intrigued by what I say. And ultimately, I think that, giving this movie a second chance is a good thing. I think the more you watch a movie, the more you end up growing to love it, or the more you end up growing to hate it. And it really helps you have a more intelligent point on why you don't or why you do like a movie. But that's going to be it for this video, guys. Like I said, there is another video that I want you to watch. It's going to be another 10 Points of Redemption video. I'm going to film it right after I'm done filming this one. So it's going to be up around the same time. Thank you for watching. I hope you subscribe below. I really hope that we keep this channel going. I have an extremely busy schedule, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I keep up with the uploads on this, to make sure I keep up with everything on this channel. I'm really excited to see what we can do. I'm really excited for the next 10 Points of Redemption video that you'll see today. And ultimately, I really want you to come back and see me again. I really want you to tell me down below what you want to see in this series. I'm working on actually one for Scream 3 right now. I'm watching the movie a couple times to get it really in my head. A suggestion by Dylan Bean. I'm going to link his channel down below. I also want to thank Lee from Drum Dums, who's very, very instrumental in this channel continuing. Gave me a lot of support going in. It was actually an inspiration for me talking about horror movies, which him and Jay and Mike from We Watched a Movie, Cody Leach as well. I'm gonna link all their channels down below, along with Dylan Beans, which, like I said, Wolverine is gonna be his channel. It's gonna be down there as well. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for staying to the end of this video. Please subscribe down below, and please tell me what you want to see from me next. Other than that, I have been President CM for this video at least, and I will see you in the next video.